Hello and welcome to another episode from the water's edge. Today you catch up with us back down the Yare, and we're only a couple of weeks into the fishing season. We've been keeping an eye on the match results and there's been some really good fishing, so we couldn't resist a trip back down here, and I'm actually on a bit of a learning curve myself today. I don't actually have any worries in admitting that the pole feeder has not been one of my strong points for a long time now. It's just something I couldn't get my head round. So what I've done is I've had a chat with my good friend Wayne Anderson. Now Wayne has been crowned King of the Yare on more than a few occasions on here. You fish the match here at season, and if you win throughout the season collecting the most points, you get crowned King of the Yare. So who better to pick their brains and find out what I was doing wrong than himself. So what I done is I sat down and had a good chat with Wayne about how to fish a pole feeder. I actually came across after speaking to him that he was fishing completely different to me. And actually when I show you in a minute, you probably think it's quite a funny way of doing it. And when I first thought about it and when he first told me, I was really surprised, but I couldn't wait to get down here and give it a go. And we've been fishing now for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and it is really effective. I already feel that I've sort of cracked my bogey method as such. I'm sure I've got a lot more to learn yet, but let's have a talk through it. Now what I was saying about being a bit funny in the way that it's set up is because actually, as you can see here, what I've done is I've cut down one of my number 2s, and what I've now got is a top of I just got the cheapest quiver rod I could, and I've cut it down so they fit together. So actually the end of my pole, rather than having the elasticated top section, is an elasticated tip section from a feeder rod. So I've got a big bung in this end and the bottom eyes that can't pull through. The elastic runs all the way through to a normal connector that you'd be fishing on your feeder tip. So what that does is, what my problem, a lot of it was, I was struggling to know what was a bite in my traditional old way of pole feeder fishing, where, I don't know, once you fish before it, you have a loop with elastic and sight bobs, and I just couldn't get on with it. I don't know why, it just wasn't the one for me. And this works really well. So what I've got down from there is you fish it on the Yare where we are. We're on Roach Bay, peg 51 I think we are, which is a very good area for this. And it's really deep close in, so you can fish to hand. So I'm fishing top 4, swinging the pole out, adding one extra section to get directly on top of it, and then you're almost watching for quiver tip bites like you would be as if you were fishing a feeder. Now this doesn't work on this peg or this stretch of the river on the ebb tide, because you need the flow close in. It needs to be quite deep close in. So then coming down from there, all we've got there is a sight bob. So you've actually got 2 different sight bobs. So you've got the quiver tip if you want to carry on watching that, and that gives you great indication, or you've got the second sight bob, which is there and you actually just watch it dip under the water. So that is great for also telling you how deep it is. As that comes up, obviously it will slowly disappear and you know the water level's rising. That then comes down, halfway down the rig is just a normal swivel. What that does is it stops the whole rig tangling up, and it just keeps everything just neat and presented well. Coming down to a normal feeder fishing setup. This is, if I was actually fishing the tip, this is the setup I'd use. So it's the feeder running in a loop. Slightly different is the loop is ever so slightly smaller. It's only about 1 inch long. So it just that slight semi-bolt rig effect. You get a little bit of movement, then whack, in sets the hook. And the hook link is perhaps half the distance, half the length of what it was if I was fishing a normal tip rod. So it's about 1 foot, and that just allows it to sort of sit behind the feeder, right where hopefully the roach you're fishing. Now, like I said, we've been fishing for a while. I've had some nice roach. I've had certainly some over £1, perhaps even £1.50, and I've lost something really special as well. I don't know what it was, didn't even get to see it. It's just stretched the elastic out. So I guess it's a bit of a bit of an alien way of fishing, but it's really effective and it's certainly proven well for me. Bait wise, I've got my standard roach fishing ground bait. I've got my casters, my maggots and my hemp. So bait wise, it's nothing special. I guess this episode is all about the method, and hopefully as I learn and I'll pick up bits and pieces, I'll pass them on for yourselves as well. But get out and give this a go, because it is quite special. So I'm just going to swing this out now, and then we'll talk to you perhaps a bit more about what we're doing and what we're looking for throughout the session. But I'm just fishing a single fluoro maggot in with the feeder. He's just getting filled up with casters, ground bait and hemp, and as we said, we're just swinging out to hand, plopping in, and then you just add one extra section to get on top of that feeder, and we're not fishing very far out at all. Then I've got a bump bar set up so I can let go of everything, and we're now just waiting for that tip to knock or that sight bob to bob under, whichever one you feel you want to watch, but it gives you 2 reference to visual about the bites, and you're just waiting for that knock, and hopefully you'll be attached to the next fish. So I'm going to sit and watch this now, and we'll catch up with you back. Hopefully with a nice roach to show you. So we're into another fish now. We've been plodding away for a little while. We've had a few fish. I think steadily as we keep plopping the feeder in, we're going to increase our catch rate. This is another nice fish. There we are. I would say probably sort of classic of what you expect to catch on the Yare, really. Probably, I don't know, 10 ounces maybe, 8, 9. But a solid stamp of fish. It really doesn't take long to do weights of these. And this is why the matches here get one with sometimes huge weights of roach. Is because you don't need many of them to put a weight together. And we're just going to slowly plop away and hopefully keep putting fish in the net. While I'm out, it's worth talking to you a bit more about the way we're fishing it. So we've had a good look at the rig. So we'll just fill this up with ground, mate. As I said, so we're just on the top 4 to start with, and I'm going to swing to hand as far as I can swing on a tight line, and then the feeder will sort of tack towards me, but I'll add the section on that's behind me just to sort of get on top of it. So your quiver tip section is right above where you're feeder fishing. So we put that into place. So we'll swing it right out, hit the water, and we'll quick as we can add that section on, and then we sort of follow it down, and then it goes straight into bump rest. So my hands are free. And that is pretty much as simple as it gets. It's so accurate. It's like the most accurate form of feeder fishing you can imagine. And when you get this right and you start consistently putting that bait in the same spot, you can really get some competition going. I mean, sometimes if it was really going for it and you were getting bites instantly, I wouldn't even worry about the rest. I'd hold it. But how we are at the moment, we're probably only waiting, I don't know, there's a fish now, so I don't know what that was, but say 20-30 seconds maybe. So I'm just popping it in the rest. It just keeps things more accurate, and this one's off. But they're just, I suppose the amazing thing is the average size. This is the first time I've ever used this method, and from someone who really couldn't get their head round to pole feeder fishing to now, well, I'm loving it actually. I feel like a bit of a kid again, like I've learned something new, and I have, and there's always stuff to be learning. There's another quality roach. They really do scrap in this tide. Whee, he's coming right down by my feet. And there we are, there's another one hits the net. That's bigger than the last one. That's probably a pound. I guess we sort of take it for granted really of the fishing we have here on the Yare. In its time, it probably is, well, I'd like to say it's probably the best river in the country, and I don't think many people would argue with me for roach fishing, for bream fishing as well. When the fish are there, they really are there. And this is so wide across his back. I'm just going to try and slip this hook out. It's so wide across the back that the weights of them, and that's probably due to the tide and the current. They're big strong fish, and they certainly are some of the fittest fish as well. I always say if roach were perhaps the size that carp get, they'd give you an awesome scrap. But yeah, I'm not going to take it for granted. Like I said, I'm sure there's many people out who would like to come and catch roach like this all day, and we do need to sort of understand that we have something very special on our doorstep here where we are filming. But I'm going to get them in the net. We're going to carry on fishing. I'm sure there's more bits and pieces that I can tweak to make it better. Like I said, I'm pretty much a newbie to this, as well as just learning as we go. But that's the beauty about fishing, isn't it? Like, you don't have to know absolutely everything all the time. You can just keep honing your skills and getting better. So I'm going to stay with the fluoro. Seems to be doing the job. Single fluoro. Fill my feeder up. One big swing. and then get on top of your next section. And that is just, it's just getting in that rhythm, getting in that process. I'm going to see if I can hold this one because the bite's not too long. Just getting yourself in that rhythm of what's going on. And there we go, and there's another fish. You should be catching fish pretty steadily. So I'm going to get my head down for a while now, see if we can perhaps show you one of the real special ones, because they do go, I don't know what the biggest roach is, but I've had them here to 1/8 before. So there's fish that will sort of go well into the pan that we could show you if we're lucky enough to hook one. So I'm going to get my head down, see if we can perhaps attach ourselves to one of the real big ones. Well, after a nice steady run of fish, I'm into a much better fish now. I don't want to tempt fate in case I can, but it's one of the biggest roach I think I've hooked on the river. It's using all of that tide down there. Please don't go off. Ooh. Oh, he's in. Don't know if he's a true roach, but if he is, that's the biggest roach I've ever hooked on a river. Cool, that's a nice one. We've got Wardy behind here who run this stretch down here, and he will be able to tell us hopefully. We'll just slip the hook out and then we'll have a proper look at him, but that is an absolute beast. So let's have a proper look at him, if he's going to behave. And that is by far the biggest river roach I've ever caught. Like I said, I've got Chris behind that. He's pretty sure it's a roach.
Yeah, dead sure.
Yeah, so Wardy, like I said, he collects a dating stage. He's probably seen more roach than anyone on this river, and he's confident it's a roach, so that's good enough for me. I'm going to put him on the scales at the end and we'll put a true reading on him, but I've had roach to 1/8 here before on camera. This is dwarfs that. It's got to be pushing £2. Like I said, we'll get a true reading at the end, but that on its own, if it's the only fish I caught, would have been a day for me, but let alone what we've had a cracking day. But I'm going to put him in a net and carry on. There's more fish out there for us, but just a picture of beauty, that is, an absolute cracker. So we popped the biggest fish I think I've ever seen, or the biggest roach certainly I've ever caught from river or lakes back in the net. And it is worth just talking to you a little bit more about the river. Now, don't get us wrong, we've picked the best tide for this spot. You can only really fish this way, this close, because of how it is. So this is called Roach Bay where we are, and it flows from right to left, so it comes right in deep under our feet, and we get a lot of flow close in. So that's why we can do this just swinging to hand at really comfortable range. It would work fishing it longer, but it just gets a bit more awkward with obviously shipping more sections out and stuff like that. But anywhere where the river certainly is deep and flows well close in, you can fish it like this. And you could really fish it anywhere, as long as you've got a bit of flow, like I said. But it's turning certainly into a bit of a red letter day. We're just waiting for it to go on now. And it's been a bit of a changeable day. The sun's sort of out a bit now, but we've had a little bit of drizzle, a little bit of rain. But it hasn't put us off. But what it has helped me with, and what I've personally learnt massively, is the double sight indication. So like I said, normally on the pole feed I was struggling a little bit with what was a proper bite, but when you get a ripple, and this is the reason for this, is your sight bob that you've got on top of the water will sort of duck under, come back up as a boat comes or as the wind picks up, and you never really know if it's a bite. So having the tip section sort of feeder fishing as such, you really do get sort of like, so if it does bob under, quick look up to your tip, that's rattling like a bite, and yet you're in, and then you can lift into it. And I found myself wasting much less time by having the two sight indications and fishing this way. So it has been a brilliant learning curve, and so far an extremely special day. We haven't got time left on this tide, and you only get sort of 5 or 6 hours of a tide. We've fished for perhaps 3 of it, so it will start to slow down shortly, and then we'll have to pack up, because if we were in a fishing situation we'd have to change methods. We'd perhaps have to go out long on the tip, because when it starts flowing the other way, obviously your flow's over the other side, and all this here is sort of slack water, and you just don't seem to catch on it. So yes, we have had a cracking day, an absolute red letter day, but we've picked the right conditions for it, and if you can do that with your fishing, you certainly maximise your chances. And there we are, just what we were talking about, worked in perfect motion. So the sight bob slipped away, had a little look at the tip, and that was bouncing away, so we knew it wasn't the wind or a bit of tide going over it, and it does just really harmonise each other perfectly. And I have also just started, from when I first started doing it to now, just leaving them bites that little bit longer, because I think with roach being this sort of size in your swim and a lot of them, it sounds weird on the river, but I think a few of them are like knocking into it and you're getting a few line bites. And I think when I first started, I was hitting a few of the little dips on the sight bob, and they were probably liners, to be honest, because there's loads of these out there. But I'm just gonna really calm down. I'll slip the hook out of him, we'll have another look at him. So yeah, I'm letting that bite develop. I mean, if you left it a long while, the elastic would start coming out, but I wouldn't leave it that long. You don't want to deep hook them, but certainly let the bob go under and get your proper knock on the quiver tip. But there, like I said, another typical roach that we're expected to catch. When they're here, they are truly here. We're now slowly coaching what feels another decent roach back. We are pretty much, well, we haven't lost the tide, but we're certainly losing the tide. So I might even call this the last fish if I manage to get it in. It's been a brilliant day. It has to go down as probably, well, it has to go down as my best day's roach fishing ever. I've certainly caught the biggest roach I've ever caught, and I'm going to weigh it at the end, but this one could be a challenger, how he's going. But just really take my time with it. What his tide is left, he's using the most of, so I'm bringing him up to my right, and then hopefully time he gets to the surface, we'll be able to sort of use the little bit of current to ease him into the net. Well, not quite the roach we were hoping for. You can clearly see that this one's a hybrid, but what that does indicate to me is, just reassures me again that fish we caught earlier was a roach, because there is no doubt whatsoever that isn't. You can tell it hasn't got the red fins, certainly a cross between, I would say, a roach and a bream. But hybrids are great fun because, one, they get a little bit bigger, and two, they certainly give up a good account for themselves. So it is a very good species to catch and a great weight builder for match. But I would say the perfect way to end what has been a brilliant day. I think all that's left for us to do is pack away, have a look at the catch, and not forgetting weigh that big roach. So let's get on with that now. Well, we picked just a few out in the end. There was far too many in there to get out. We want to look after these fish, but these are a few of the better ones. And that roach, really special roach, went 2 pounds and 1 ounces. So that is definitely my PB. And like I said, a little bit of learning curve for me, but what a brilliant method. It might not be for everyone, and it is going to be something you have to get used to, but certainly can catch your rewards on the right venue. So I would recommend getting out and trying it. I can't really give you any more emphasis of why than a 2 pound 1 ounce roach. So a brilliant day for me, a new PB, but it's time to get these fellas back. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one. Well, we wrapped the session up, we've weighed them in, a roach of 2 pound 1, but it's been such a good day, I could not resist getting out again, and I am attached again to something seriously special. It's in the same sort of league as the one we had. We're just waiting for the rain to pass, so we thought rather than just pack up and get wet, I'll just carry on. Come on, just try and coach us in. Whee! That is another clonker. I don't think he's quite as big, but he is well above a pound. So is he gonna kick? Oh, no! That was massive. Oh. Alright, let's go home.